Welcome once again. It's time for Shelf Life Book Reviews Online, where I present to you a very highly recommended book that hopefully you might consider adding to your must-buy list. And the book this time out is Ghost Towns of Ontario's Cottage Country by Andrew Hind. This is published by Dundurn Press, and it retails for $25.99. Ghost towns are always fascinating. They're communities that at one time thrived, and then, like the name implies, they just turned to ghosts, and the ghosts of the past are all that is left. In this book, the author looks at 13 different communities, and they are chosen from Southern Cottage Country, Central Cottage Country, and Northern Cottage Country. And it's absolutely fascinating to see their history. Early in the book, the author says if you do go to look for them, beware, because they could be now on private property that are owned by people. So it is best to get permission if you want to see them and take pictures, perhaps to ask if there is a landowner there, to ask for permission to go on that property. But he starts with Hind Hill. Now, this was a township of Minden Hills in Haliburton County, and it's fascinating to see how it began. It was very small. There were 50 people in 1869, that was all. Settlers came, of course, and by 1880, the population had tripled. It turned into a rather thriving community. There was a cheese factory that was built, a log schoolhouse was built, and soon logging and other activities soon filled the region with people and commerce. But in the 1920s, the Ontario government offered people land further up in the Temiskaming territory, and to leave, they were giving them 80 acres up in that region, and people soon left the area of Hind Hill, and it basically, I guess you could say, it died a natural death. The other area that he talks about is Germania, and interesting parts about how the post office started, and a lot of the post offices began in people's houses, and people were assigned to be postmasters. But there's a particularly interesting story from Germania involving a 29-year-old girl. She got pregnant out of wedlock, and men who courted her in the future, they really shunned her. Her own father was ashamed of her and shunned her, and soon the townspeople basically acted as if she didn't exist. She was just a nobody, and so the girl was so distraught that she walked into Wise Miller Lake, fully dressed, and soon she just sank to the bottom and she died. And even after death, the people really did not want any part of her. There was a cemetery there where people were buried, but they would not allow her even to be buried in that cemetery. She was buried outside the cemetery in unconsecrated grounds. So it's really sad but that was the time, in the early 1900s, where people had their values, and if those did not go with those values, they were shunned, and unfortunately the girl killed herself. The towns that are mentioned here, the ghost towns, there are many others, such as Kiosk, which was in Algonquin Park. There is also Uffington, Byng Outlet, and Whitehall amongst the 13. And so you see how the areas thrived, and they did thrive very well. As more settlers came, people heard about these little areas, and they were thriving communities with all sorts of factories. There were mills, they made bread, there were farmland, and but unfortunately they have since all turned to dust, and what really remains is just the ashes from the past. So if you like history, especially of cottage country history, the ghost towns that once thrived but are now but spirits and have melted into air, into thin air, which is like a quote from Shakespeare's The Tempest. So this is definitely a book you should add to your collection. If you do purchase it, please let me know if you did buy it. And if you do agree with my review, which I think you will, because it's a book that's very informative, well researched. Andrew Hind has done an excellent job. So thank you again for watching. Until we meet again, stay safe, stay sane, stay in touch, and I will see you at the bookstore. Bye for now.